The 9 principal rishis or sages are Marichi, Atri, Angira, Pulatstya, Pulaha, Kratu, Bhrigu, Vashishta and Atharva. All these rishis are most important. And Brahma desired that the 9 daughters already born of Kardama Muni be handed over to them. Here 2 words are used very significantly, Yatha Sheelam and Yatha Ruchi. The daughters should be handed over to the respective rishis not blindly but according to the combination of character and taste. That is the art of combining a man and a woman. Man and woman should not be united simply on consideration of sex life. There are many other considerations, especially character and taste. If the taste and character differ between the man and woman, their combination will be unhappy. Even about 40 years ago in Indian marriages, the taste and character of a boy and girl were first of all matched, and then they were allowed to marry. This was done under the direction of the respective parents. The parents used to astrologically determine the character and taste of the boy and the girl, and when they corresponded, the match was selected. This girl and this boy are just suitable and they should be married. Other consideration was less important. The same system was also advised in the beginning of the creation by Brahma. Your daughter should be handed over to the rishis according to the taste and character. According to astrological calculation, a person is classified according to whether he belongs to the godly or demoniac quality. In that way, the spouse was selected. A girl of godly quality should be handed over to a boy of godly quality. A girl of demoniac quality should be handed over to a boy of demoniac quality. Then they will be happy. But if the girl is demoniac and the boy is godly, then the combination is incompatible. They cannot be happy in such a marriage. At the present moment, because boys and girls are not matched according to quality and character, most marriages are unhappy and there is divorce. It is foretold in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that in this age of Kali, married life will be accepted on the consideration of sex only. When the boy and the girl are pleased in sex, they get married. And when there is deficiency in sex, they separate. That is not actual marriage, but a combination of men and women like cats and dogs. Therefore, the children produced in the modern age are not exactly human beings. Human beings must be twice born. A child is first born of a good father and mother, and then he is born again of the spiritual master and the Vedas. The first mother and father bring about his birth into this world, and then the spiritual master and the Vedas become his second father and mother. According to the Vedic system of marriage for producing children, every man and woman was enlightened in spiritual knowledge. And at the time of their combination to produce a child, everything was scrutinizingly and scientifically done. Thus ends the book. So Brahma is giving direction to Kardama Muni to match his 9 daughters to the 9 principal rishis and hand them over to them in marriage by what kind of matching? Yatha Sheelam, Yatha Ruchi. They are matching the Sheelam. Sheelam means character. Ruchi means taste. So character and taste had to be matched between the boy and the girl, so that their combination will make them pursue the real goal of marriage, real goal of such a relationship. Marriage is, we can see right from the beginning of creation, is a principle of creation, procreation. This world exists because of, material world exists because of this principle of procreation is continuing, which is the relation between man and woman, or conjugal pleasure. The Vedic understanding of a man and a woman itself is different from what we see today. Each man, each woman, every child is built up with certain characters and tastes. His mind, his subtle body is conditioned according to the different kinds of habits that are formed. According to the way a person is trained to live, to interact with people, interact with the society, the way a person is taught to interact with his work, how to relate with his work. A man is trained, a boy or a girl is trained how to interact with his body, how to relate with his senses. This is called training or samskara, or this is called sheelam. That is what makes somebody a man or a woman according to what the kind of man and woman we are talking in this Bhagavatam. Cultured. Over the time, these things are cultured and their subtle body is formed into a body with certain sheelam or character. It results in a character in a person. It is built up, not that everybody is born with that. It is built up. Some basic seeds may be there, but this is built up. By proper family life, proper social life, these are also important for developing the proper character. So today's society itself is in a mess. The society or social dealings are not governed with this objective, are not designed with this objective. The rules and regulations in the society are also not governed by this higher principle of culturing the consciousness of the living entity, culturing the subtle body of the living entity in a way in which the subtle body is favorable for their spiritual advancement. So, yata sheelam yata ruchi. According to this, men and women were matched, boys and girls were matched, and then their married life would be successful. Prabhupada says that today, in this age, married life will be accepted on consideration of sex only. And when boy and girl are pleased in sex, they get married, and when there is deficiency in sex, they separate. That is not actual marriage, but a combination of men and women like cats and dogs. Therefore, the children produced in the modern age are not exactly human beings, etc. So, just see the kind of common misconception that is there largely in a boy's mind and a girl's mind in Kali Yuga. Not Kali Yuga, these particular times. The value for sex is so amplified in the boy's mind and the girl's mind by association of the social culture, present social culture, that it occupies a very prominent role in a married life, as if it is a key thing. Why do you get married? For sex life. But actually, and it is considered sex life or sex pleasure is considered to be very high pleasure. By default in everybody's mind it is like that. And sex pleasure is equated to relational pleasure. Conjugal relational pleasure and sex pleasure is equated. Sex pleasure is a very small slice of the conjugal relational pleasure. It is a very small subset. It is a very limited aspect of relational pleasure. A husband and wife live together in a relationship means living is the main concern. Living for an objective is the main concern. Not sex is the main concern. In the process of living being the main concern, living together being a main concern, living together for the higher cause being the main concern, forget higher cause, even you take in materially, forget nobody has, think you don't, let's forget that they have spiritual knowledge itself. Even for material life, living together, we married to live together to attain whatever life objectives we have got. That is the larger principle behind conjugal love. When two people have relationship, let's say even between men we have a relationship, we exchange confidentiality, we exchange some gifts, all these things, is it not? So it is one part of relation to exchange. So sex is also the exchange of confidentiality, intimacy, exchange of gift. What is gift? Exchange of each other's body. This is all one aspect of conjugal relationship. But if you think that is it, then what happens? Suppose I have a relationship with you and I give you some gift. So if you think that the meaning of this relationship is only this particular giving of this gift and that gift, you give me one gift, I give you back one gift. Our relationship is all based on this. It is a transaction. Our relationship is not based on one transaction. It's a transactional aspect of an existential relationship. Married life is a combination of man and woman for existence in a particular way, for a particular objective. So there is no clear definition. Everybody, by default, by the modern culture, social value system, everything is such that one thinks that marriage means sex. As Prabhupada says, even 50 years back, how the marriages were fixed. Or you take 56, 70, 80 years, even in our younger days, at least my younger days, I know my grandmother used to go to the bedroom of the grandfather only when there is need for procreation. Otherwise, they live separately. There's another room there with great respect, everything. She serves the husband and everything. It's not that, it was not all that prominent. This is highly amplified now. Sex pleasure is highly amplified in the modern age. It was not disturbing every man, every woman like it is disturbing now. Now every man and woman is disturbed about this sex life, gross sex life. So potentially it is not that, every mind has to be agitated about sex. It's not true. It is not constitutional nature of the mind to get agitated like that. It gets agitated because of the culture, the way we have done the culturing. Yatha Sheelam. Sheelam means how we have developed our character, how we have been trained to develop response, what is the value that we have given to it. If we have given a wrong value to it from childhood, then we are finished. So today a boy looks at a girl, she exists only for enjoyment of a woman, of a man, by some man. Or a man, the woman is thinking is meant for enjoyment, sexual enjoyment of a woman. So this perverted understanding, even if you see, take for instance the sex urge, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Eating, constantly it is required. Morning, afternoon, evening. Sleeping, every day the yantra requires sleeping. Mating, actually constitutionally speaking, just like Prabhupada says, if you get married, then you should have sex once in a month for procreation. If they have no idea of procreation, don't have sex. So it may sound, come on, this is too much, How can anybody follow this in this age? How can anybody follow this? Because this is not, because in the cross section of the people of present age, you see, it's all so agitated. How can you say that? But forget about what the mind says. All Vedic injunctions are based on scientific facts. If you don't agitate, your body itself responds or seeks sex in long cycles. Not every day. In long cycles. That is why the woman's cycle also, menstrual cycle, all these things, it is all the procreation period. It's such a long cycle, they don't need every day. So these are all very practical instruction, very scientific instruction which is coming down. Not that Prabhupada invented all these things once in a while. Chant 50 rounds and so we should change our beliefs. Our body actually does not need, it's not that it is in constant need for sex. Even assume you're a karmi, it is not, if your mind is cool, if your mind is not spoiled, you don't need it. It is a proof that not that everybody in the outside world are gone crazy after sex. There are so many people who are, because of their culture is different, they're not interested at all. They manage their whole life without marrying also, not because they are brahmacharis or anything. Not a problem at all for them. Their culture was such that big value was not given to it, and it goes on. Like our Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. It's going on, no? He is not a disturbed man. Do you see him as a disturbed man? No, he is very active, energetic, he doesn't have sex. So, we need to understand, even with respect to our own spiritual life, that this is not a big issue, as the mind makes it to be. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Defending also. It's not that every day you have to fear about your future. Sometimes something one will think about and make some security for future. Defending. Okay, if I lose my job, I have this FD. Or if I lose this, I have, if I, all defending system is there. If I lose this, this will be there. If I, lose this job, I'll get another job. This thinking is called defending. You're always defending. Means you are dealing with existential fear, because existence is an issue in this material world for everybody. Except a baby, when you are under the parent's care, you are no longer existential. After that, there is a moment you finish your education, everybody, existential fear begins, defending begins. So everybody has to. Now come when we are devotees, we don't have existential fear at all. See, we are free from defending. At a larger level, we are free. Of course, in small things come defending. Defending is inbuilt into our body. If I bring my finger towards your eyes, automatically your eyes will close. It's called defense mechanism. Those are apart. I'm telling about the mind. Mind doesn't. Defending is also not a very big requirement. When it comes to devotees, defending is solved already. Eating is solved already. Sleeping also solved already. No instruction is given that you should sleep less. Prabhupada said, take sufficient rest. Eating, sleeping, mating. Mating, no big issue make. Sex. Why? Because we are brought up in a modern culture where the value of this has been artificially amplified beyond the scientific requirement of the body. There is a scientific requirement for eating, sleeping, mating, defending. It is amplified. So simply we unconcoct or we clear our mental concoction, we will become normal beings. And as normal beings, if we keep away from the association of women, all the more no agitation will happen. Or even if some agitation happens, only when 24 hours you are not associating. Sometimes when you are preaching, sometimes you look at somebody, you associate. Okay, little disturbance will be there, tolerate. Do. Why are you afraid about disturbance? Let there be disturbance. You should tell, let there be disturbance. I don't have to act on it. Let there be disturbance. It is natural in the material world. Always some disturbance will be there. So I have taken the path of this restricted association with opposite sex. So let that be there. Let that disturbance, if it is there, I will minimize that disturbance. Just like if you have to become a pure devotee, it is not said that you should become free from hunger and sleep. Nowhere that thing is given. Similarly, nowhere it is said you should become free from disturbance. As long as this body is there, subtle body is there, millions of lives of impressions are there in our mind, so many neural structures are there in our brain. Especially so because we are not brought up with good Shīlas from our childhood. In this modern age, we have gone to modern colleges and institutions and we have a completely a different kind of a perception. So where are all those things cannot vanish. They are all sitting as neural structures in your brain. Pleasure structures, what you have taught that. By brahmacharya, by dissociating with this, not feeding these structures, slowly these structures, these brain neurals, connections and all, they just wither away. The scientists have found out that all habits when you make, they are all interconnected through this new connections, synapses, the connections are made and they become big network of neural network, neurons. They all become a network. And as you repeat that behavior, that neural network gets fed and well circulated with blood and everything. If you don't, then the scientists have found out that if you don't use a neural structure that you have set up already, that means if you don't use a habit that you have set up, if you starve a habit, those neural connections snap and the structure, it becomes weak, and that is how habits are easily. So now you may have some very high value and this and everything about sex, but if you don't use it, if you don't contemplate on it, and you don't apply that, engage that neural structure. That means don't engage in that habit. What habit? Thinking habit, feeling habit, willing habit. These three habits connected to sex. If you don't, that is exactly what the principles of brahmacharya are. Just don't do it. But somebody may say, hey, just don't do it is not some, I have to somehow overtake this Maya. I have to develop the jnana to overtake this Maya. Or somebody may say, okay, I am to overtake this Maya. A Vaishnava may say, okay, to overtake, Mayavadis may say, I have to overtake this illusion. Vaishnavas may wrongly think, but I have to overtake this, my response to women. I have to overtake somehow. No, but as far as all those jnanic overtaking is not required, there is practical application given to Vaishnavas who see everybody in a perception. If you have to see a woman, how you have to see, that is given. As far as our attitude, all those things towards women and all those things is concerned, when our get purified, when these wrong neural networks are all disconnected, then the soul has its natural way of seeing in the spiritual world. Just like a child need not be taught how to walk. Similarly, if our heart gets purified, if we go to the spiritual world, nobody need to teach how to see lustlessly beautiful women in Vaikuntha Loka. In Vaikuntha Loka, everybody is beautiful. In this material world, here and now you find one beautiful, therefore you go. Suppose in the material world everybody was beautiful, then the value of beauty itself comes to normal, isn't it? So in the spiritual world, beauty is a base. All the waves are love, not beauty is a base. Everybody is beautiful. Everybody is beautiful. So gross things, gross sex, all these things are not the predominating factors. And there in the spiritual world, there is no difference between the body and the mind. It's all one. It's all spirit. When the mind is beautiful, the external beauty also amplifies. Just like you see in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna is and Radharani. Krishna is saying Radharani is becoming more and more beautiful. Radharani sees Krishna becoming more and more beautiful. When she sees Krishna become more beautiful, she becomes more beautiful. So, because why? It is in the spiritual world, it is the soul is the mind, soul is the body. It is not like here, soul is of Chinmaya soul and Achit body. So the solving those issues, the issue of training our mind to absolutely become free from lusty responses, no special training is required. Keep away from these interactions, number one. Number two, awaken our Krishna consciousness. And we don't need to be taught the soul need not be taught how to see lustlessly. Because now it is not the soul is sleeping. So soul is haunted by false egos, haunted by false selves. Every false self is a self-centered self. That is why it's called false self. It's not your real self. We are the soul behind the false ego. That means we are the haunted people who are giving the free will to false ego. We are the one who are giving the acting potency. We are giving everything. We are empowering the false ego by identification. The soul has got a very powerful faculty called identifying it. First you identify with something, then you desire, then you do, then you experience. Continuously we are doing this. So we are continuously taught how to disidentify ourselves. One is by contemplation, one is by acting as a servant of Krishna. Your identity as a doer for Krishna comes. By contemplation that I am an eternal servant of Krishna, your identity as a seer for Krishna comes. Seeing everything in relationship with Krishna, doing everything in relationship with Krishna, our original identity is awakened. And that is exactly what we are practicing through this devotional service, Navavida Bhakti. We are practicing how to awaken our seership and doership, our spiritual seership and doership, and spiritual enjoyership. Spiritual enjoyership is enjoyment of giving enjoyment to God. That enjoyment or love of God, that's called. That enjoyment is incomparable to even Brahmananda, according to the scriptures, scriptural revelation. It is even greater than Brahmananda. Brahmananda itself is supposed to be multiple times or million times more Ananda than any material enjoyment. Brahmananda. So, ultimately, when it comes to anybody who understands whether it is a Brahmananda, the value of Brahmananda, or the value of love of Godhead, the pleasure of love of Godhead, the happiness of love of Godhead, the joy of love of Godhead, if once that is even taking from the Shastras, from hearing that this is what it is, what the Shastra says, all these material sense pleasures, they're all like crumbs of bread thrown to, crumbs of waste thrown to the crows. The crows go and eat all garbage, So this world, sometimes we talk big philosophy. We say, no, you are marginal energy. Marginal energy means either you can enjoy independently or you can enjoy with Krishna, as if they are all, both are equal. Actually what you say, you are marginal energy. You got the potential either to be in the garbage or in your house. This is your free will, not some big philosophy. Either you can independently enjoy or the independent enjoy means you are in garbage. You are in garbage. You are eating garbage in this material world. Every sense gratification is a garbage that we are eating. In this material world, who goes to the garbage? Beggars. So the material world is a garbage. A sense enjoyer in this material world is a beggar. Why is he called a beggar? Because he is starved of food. So since we are starved of our connection with Krishna, we are starved of devotional service, then we become beggars. A beggars governed by the laws of karma. A law has been made for all the beggars. That is called law of karma. Prisoners. Prabhupada uses the word prisoners. They are all prisoners. Even in the material spirit, even you go to a heavenly planet, you are a prisoner. Because even in the heavenly planet, the heavenly pleasures are not comparable to Brahmananda. And Brahmananda not comparable with love of Godhead. Brahmananda is compared to the water that is there in a hoof print, compared to the ocean. How much water is there in the ocean? So love of Godhead is like that. Any questions? Mike.
Prabhu, just like you said, it's not so important, but when in the Bhagavatam, in 2nd canto, 6th chapter, 28th shloka, there very clearly Prabhupada says that if you want to go by, attain Tripada Vibhuti or the spiritual world, without getting detached from sex life, it is impossible to even approach, is what it clearly says, no problem.
Correct.
It is most important thing to get away from it also, it says.
Get away from the material, in this world, material sex in this world. We have to get away. It is a sense gratification. Sense gratification means, in this material world, sex is a sense gratification. It's a biophysical, psychological effect. It is not a spiritual pleasure in this material world. But it is believed to be spiritual conjugation pleasure. But in reality, it is an artificial pleasure from the standard of spiritual. So a spiritualist does not engage in imitation. Just like if you know what is real cricket, if I give you some toys, cricket ball, this, everything, I don't want this. I want to play real cricket, you will say. Is it not? In the same way, yogis, bhakti yogis, they don't want to play this cookie games. All these games I don't want to play. Getting attracted, running after sense and sense gratification means immediately you should tell others, hey, I'm running after this stupid game. I don't know, I want the real thing. Whatever it is, here it is a perverted, this thing. In what form, in what shape, this is all there in the spiritual world, I can't even conceive. But I want that. So therefore, one has to, vairagya, detachment, has to develop for the illusion. Now, vairagya has to develop for the illusion in order to understand the pure conception of all these things. You cannot have this, because this is a perverted perception that we are having of sex, of conjugal relationship. Everything is perverted. For the simple reason that it's self-centered. So that self-centeredness has to go, purification has to happen, which means that one has to get free from this game, pleasure games. I want real pleasure of serving the Lord. So it's a fact that one has to completely become rid of these things. How one becomes rid of these things, I told you. Simply, if somebody follows brahmacharya, all his past habits, all this thing, you don't use that structure, it will become weak. Now it will become weak, then what survives? The question comes. Where do I give positive training? You don't need to give positive training because the soul knows. If the soul is awakened, the soul already knows. Just like you don't need to teach a child how to walk. It already knows how to walk. So in the same way, we need to awaken our consciousness. So fundamentally, basically, we have to awaken our Krishna consciousness by association with Krishna, association with the holy name. We awaken our Krishna consciousness. All these small problems, all these small issues, self-control, this thing, everything will be taken care of. Somebody had a question here.
Hare Krishna. Do the pure devotees have the sex desire, sex urge? Do they have, or completely
pure devotees?
Sex urge? Do they have the sex urge?
Do they have sex?
Urge.
Sex hunch.
Urge, desire or sex urge. Force, sex force.
Acha, sex urge, whether pure devotees have sex urge.
Force, that force will be there in the pure devotees or completely?
No, it's all, they're small things for a pure devotee. For a pure devotee, these gons are all evaporated. There's no such thing in the person's consciousness, nor in his body. His body is spiritualized. Only in material body there is sex urge. Even today, if you are able to control sex because you are eating prasadam every day, you stop taking prasadam, you will see how your cells will behave differently. Continuously the prasadam, our cells are all prasadam cells. That is why our body doesn't trouble us so much about sex. Our mind troubles us. Mind troubles us. And that is the reason why if you honor prasadam with your mind as it should be honored, your mind also will become purified of that. Mind forces of sex also will go away. Because mind gets purified. So honoring prasadam, just like chanting attentively, eating attentively is very important. By honoring, respecting, remembering the Lord, thanking the Lord, tasting it very nicely. Just like attentively here you say, no? Attentively taste it. Why? Because Lord is there. That taste is God. That taste is God. That taste is Krishna. The more we relate, so taking prasadam is a big service, devotional service. How fortunate we are. Something which is so much of our urge, daily urge, is converted into devotional service if you do it properly. Not only body cells change, your subtle body cells also will change into new, spiritual cells. So as far as pure devotees, there are nothing to overcome all these things, because these are all perceptions. When you have got this Bhagavatam knowledge, then when your perception is spiritual perception, illusion doesn't stand at all. Tattvadarshinaha, everywhere he is seeing the truth, he is not seeing illusion. Sex life in this material world, male, female form, these are all illusions of this material world. There are no real male, there are no real females at all. So a pure devotee sees the soul, and sees the soul being haunted. The whole world is seen as haunted. Every soul is haunted by his bodily concept of life. Grandharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.